I think I grew up and I had like really like strict ideas of like who I wanted to be or what I wanted to be, but I think it's a little bit more fun if you surprise yourself. My name is Ayan and Sanyal, and I'm the founder of Kolkata Chai Co. So after I moved to New York, I went back to India in 2015 to spend some time with family, and I realized how important the ritual of going out all together and getting a cup of masala chai, maybe some jalebi, maybe some sweets, maybe a samosa, how important that ritual was to us and to our family, and how tea brought everyone together.
Chai piyo mast jiyo. Ghar ki chai diwana bana de. Yeah, because here people have no time to sit and chat. That is Adda.
The Mongols deep. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And Kolkata people have nothing to do, so all they do is chat.
Chup.
When I came back, I was like on this chai tip. I really wanted to find chai that rivaled the ones back home, and I went everywhere. I went to Queens, I went to all the bougie cafes and to all the hotspots, and I just couldn't find it. The chai that Americans have is really cinnamon and syrup based, and it's not a cardamom ginger based like we have in India, and that main difference took me way too long to realize the different spice profiles and the way the different mixes and the different ways to make chai affect the taste. So I started doing a lot of casual experimentation, just making chai for myself and my friends and my roommates and whoever, and it took me a really long time to try to get to that point. I still feel like an imposter. Still feel like I don't know what I'm doing compared to people who've been doing this for 10, 20 years on the street.
It's part of the journey.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, see, look, told you. About to happen. Playing with fire, literally. In any discipline, you need that 10,000 hours of practice, and that's all I was trying to get during that summer. Just like, oh, I just wanted to get good at this. I want to know the ins and outs of what this process was.
You wanted to be a perfectionist. And now you understand what is to be a perfectionist.
What? আবার বলো?
আদাটা ভালো করে স্কুইশ করা হয়নি, মানে এই করা হয়নি।
ভালো হয়েছে। It's not good. You have to do it again. Mom, try it.
Yeah, this is very good. This color is fine.
The problem is that these cups get really hot.
Swag it out. For the culture.
Yeah, man. Always for the culture.
People literally have fingers of steel because they have to feel like this, like it's not that easy. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Chai cheers.
The way someone described it to me, which was like the most accurate, is like, for everything that's the most beautiful in the world, you can find it in Kolkata, and then also, in the same way, the most heartbreaking, most depressing, sad things you can also find. We're looking at the epic city by Chowdhury. This book put a lot of things into words that I had felt about Kolkata that I couldn't put into words. The other thing that is really special and very perplexing about the Kolkata Bengali identity that has really taken me a long time to internalize is that the people always have to put their own identity and who they are in the context of someone else, in the context of the British, in the context of the West, or in the context of even Marxist struggles that came later. Each time, like diligent fly-swatting clerks matching up some European narrative and copying it out in local colors, matching their Renaissance to our Renaissance, their nationalism to our nationalism, their revolutions to our own. And so we remain strangers to ourselves, our heads filled with notions that had nothing to do with our lives that we are living, and our eyes blind to the most basic truths of our existence.
It's fascinating that you say this because the tea that we drink right now is actually a product of British colonialism, right?
Right, but working people every day.
And the concept of Adda, the concept of basically is also a product of
Bengal.
British influenced education in Calcutta, because Calcutta was the premier city after London in the 1860s and till 1950s actually, and they brought the British brought tea from China, and they planted it out here and found it grew and became a worldwide phenomenon. And it became a melting pot of so many cultures, traditions, businesses, this, that. It's amazing, if you think about that.
You never really drink tea alone. You're always having tea with someone else, and you're always sharing it, and you're sharing your story, and you're sharing your morning, you're sharing how you sort of enter the world each day.
Tea was involved in your first date, right?
Tea was involved in your first date.
On our first date, we went to this very one of the best tea houses in
What
was called Fleury's, right? And
Yeah.
Fleury's is a Swiss pastry tea house.
And then what happened?
I didn't know what to talk to. The first man I'm meeting in my life, I didn't know anybody
How old were
other
you?
than my father. I was 21.
How many women have you talked to by this point?
My mother and my sister, that's it.
So I'm like, oh my god, what is this? And I didn't know what a date was. So the tea comes, and then it's a teapot and a tea cozy.
But it's
Which
not
tea did you get?
This
No,
is the British,
this is Darjeeling
British
tea.
Darjeeling tea.
Second
okay?
flush.
Second flush. Very good tea.
To say what
So-
you did, you basically spilled the
So
entire
I
tea.
was
So you're very
pouring the
nervous,
tea.
yeah.
Yeah, I was very nervous and I was really shaking. So I'm pouring the tea and the whole tea fell everywhere. My shari.
So this was a match essentially enshrined in spilled Kolkata chai.
It's funny because making chai and going through this process has made me aware to so many different stories about chai, whether it's Somali chai, whether it's chai from Mauritius, or different ways that people have to celebrate their tea culture, whether it's Chinese, Japanese, all these different kinds of tea, and has really made me realize the importance of tea.
At some point, KCC goes from being a more simple food and beverage company to now having a much larger, mission and
Impact, right?
mandate, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Something that our sort of parents have always stressed is that idea of perspective and that idea of understanding where people come from and understanding other parts of how someone sees the world.
As you said, your mandate also is to make the culture relevant to certain groups that have lost it, maybe.
Yeah.
Right? And to also bring pride, whether you are from India, Pakistan, Somalia, or whatever, pride in your local culture, in your local tradition, and to keep it alive and going.
That pluralistic culture is something I really want to bring to Kolkata Chai, where it's like, it's called Kolkata Chai because that's our story, but that doesn't mean that when you come in that your story is not valid.
How do you synthesize that in a palatable way through one cafe or one product?
Well, I think it's pretty ambitious. I think it's the start of a conversation. So finally, after a lot of talk and I want to start a chai company. My brother kind of finally egged me on, and he was like, yo, actually do it.